Good afternoon. So this will be a very short elaboration video. Nothing even remotely new will be said here, but since it's important, maybe I will say it again. For those that don't understand or don't want to understand or really cannot understand for some reason. So I'll say the following regarding what's happening in the world now and what happened in the world during the 1980s. And should be said that, the saga did not start in the 1980s. It started, in the current and important stage during the time of Zionism, which means by the end of the 19th century. And many of the events of the 20th century, including in the first half, were related to the punishment that the Cubes include placed on humans. But let's speak about the 1980 issue. The episode of 1980s and what's going on right now. And these are, my main subjects. The great majority of what I speak about, like historically saying, relates to either our own time or the 1980s, as you all know if you follow me. So I'll say the following. As you all know, there is a difference between justice and order. It's not the same thing. And ultimate justice is served by God himself in the afterlife. Whether you believe it or not doesn't matter. When you die, you are judged by God, and every person is judged individually according to his or her own circumstances. Only God knows that the entirety of the circumstances of a person, and only God can judge the person according to all the specific parameters of this person, like how we behaved and what was the circumstances of their life. You cannot maintain complete justice in this world without deleting free will. The concept of free will, which is essential to the creation of the world, as I've said many times, also entails that there will be like many cases of injustice that cannot be solved in this world. These are related to one each other. A world of complete justice is a world without free will. Now, it doesn't matter that God, just created the world and and since then forgot about the world and just writes everything that happens and judges people in the afterlife. No, there is what they call providence, or in Hebrew השגחה פרטית והשגחה כללית, which means both providence of the entire world, like universe, and providence of specific occurrences or specific people, specific events. What you can aspire for in this world, not as a species, but from intrinsically a patronizing point of view, is to maintain order. Justice should be your concern of humans. You should strive to become a society that is based on justice. That's what you need to do. But from the point of view of people that that are yes, inherently above you, without apologizing for it. They tell you, yes, we are above you. Yes, we patronize you, and by definition, that's what we do. We look on you, and from that point of view, again, you cannot maintain complete justice because you don't have all the information, and because you cannot take free will from the people. But you can, you can aspire to order. The same way, it's in some way like governments. They're usual. They're always. Not every government. Follows like even tries to maintain justice, but almost all of the governments, almost by definition, try to maintain order. Now, what's order from what does order means from our perspective, the crow's perspective, with regards to the Earth and also to Venus? But what does it even mean? So it's quite simple. It means that you should, in the long range and even the medium range, you should take care of that. You should try to maintain a situation where the societies and cultures that behave in a better way, in a more just way, in a more productive way to themselves and to others, would be stronger. You should try to, to make the ladder, like the ladder of strengths, to match the ladder of, how productive and how benevolent is society, both to itself and to the others. It cannot be done like at every given moment, in every given moment. But you should, you should try to maintain, throughout decades and certain centuries, you need to try to make it happen. So the stronger ones will be those that are more responsible and have like better understanding of what it even means, like a justice society, and with more tools of how to maintain a just society, and that generally the culture, the actual people that are part of these stronger societies are the people that support moral behavior and care about moral behavior and do not act like predatory animals. That's kind of like an objective that you should aspire to, and it should be said that in any case, by the laws of nature, at a very long term, this happens. It happens. Even without any intervention, because at a very long term, evil just destroyed itself. But the cherubs, they do not maintain first prime directive, in Star Trek sense, like a view of reality. And I've said many times that they should just watch from afar. And I've explained in detail why this kind of prime directive approach is immoral and impractical and just not good. So the conclusion of these conflicting kind of forces is that you would want to help creatures like humans maintain an ordered planet in which, in general, the good people, prevail, and bad people, or bad societies do not. And you want it, and you want to manually or artificially, help it happen, even though you understand that it's in the very long term it will happen anyway. But why? It's not necessarily good to wait for the long term, to let evil destroy itself, because in the process it will destroy a lot of it's not. If you let. It's not of great comfort. To know that in the very long term, evil societies will destroy the whole planet and and the whole because it's better to give chance to give chance to people that might be good as well. So that's why kind of manual intervention are happening, and these are manual interventions. These are other asteroid radiation attacks, invasive life forms, and in the past all sorts of other things as well, like starvation, plagues, and things like that. It's not a vehicle or an instrument to maintain complete justice in this world, because it is impossible to do it. Complete justice is done in the afterlife by God Himself. You cannot do it in this world, because again, it is conflicting with the idea of, with the force of free will. So, in light of that, you should understand what happened during the 1980s was not execution of perfect justice in the world, because this is impossible. What happened was an attempt to restore order to this world. And what does it mean, order? It means that very bad societies and cannot be very powerful. And the fact that during the 1980s, both the Soviets and the Americans did not move an arm or a leg to rescue the people that should have been rescued from the Nazi prison in Israel, just like now, was unbearable. You could not live with. Earth could not continue with in such a situation. Because again, what would it be of help to destroy the state of Israel? And the Cherubs could have done it in many ways. I mean, this is a piece of shit, and it's always have been a piece of shit. And during the 80s, it was even a smaller piece of shit than now. But I mean, for what? So what then? I mean, so my predecessor and other like innocent human beings that were tortured, what would you do now? I mean, after this, let's say that I mean you can like in miraculous way you can I mean deliver them like outside of Israel and destroy Israel. But now what? Where will they go? Every place that they will go will be a place that did not move an arm or leg to save them. And also the government deep in that place would torment them and abuse them even more than the Israelis, because they would have thought, okay, so now we are righteousness. That's why Israelis were destroyed, and we are. I mean, we were not punished at all. So God is with us. So I mean, it's only like I mean, so great. Now let's abuse these kind of creatures and do whatever we want to them, because again, I mean, why else did they come here? And also, they don't have any other options. I mean, they are fugitives, and they would not want to like to escape after like another like predator capture them. I mean, they would have known that that escape is impossible, because I mean, if they escape, they only run into the mouth of another predator. So this kind of like any place that the innocent people would have go to, would have just it would have been just even worse for them. And also, it's completely unjustified and like unorderly that those strong like nations like the Soviet Russia and the United States will only like get more strength from the situation by the fact that now they control the foreigners, and they can abuse them tremendously without end. The fact that the Americans and the Soviets did not move arms and legs, not only during the 80s, even before, but up until the 1980s, required change in order, which means, first of all, eliminating Soviet Russia, and also hurting the United States, but not to the extent that it was destroyed. As you know very well, they survived the elimination of many people, because they are immigrant society and they always have like influx of new people. And during the 1990s, actually, they recovered, and they went through like an economical boom actually during the 1990s. It was like a great time, economically speaking, because unlike in the former republics of the Soviet Union that collapsed during the 1990s, and completely all the the national assets were privatized in the most cruel way and unjust way, and they collapsed. But the Americans, they had enough people and they have enough power. That they did not hurt them tremendously so during the 1980s, and actually during the 1990s, as many times after like a bad time, there is almost always that's the way, the circle of life. And maybe although some say that this is inherently part of capitalism, like booms and lows, like depressions and booms. This is kind of like I'm not sure if it's even correct actually, but famously it's. People say it about capitalism, and they say it quite a while, like more than 100 years, and it's kind of like a criticism of capitalism. I'm not even sure that it's inherently true, like mathematically true, but yes, there are like highs and lows, and the 90s were actually very high, like from economical perspective. But of course, many people died in the United States. Just that it's an immigrant society, and they have they always have more people, like, and they take more people from other places. So. So they survived it quite well. But the prime objectives during the 1980s, from the chaos point of view, wasn't to destroy Israel, but to stop the powers of this world that do not move arms and legs, to stop the torture that is going on Israel. And that's what happened. Now, what happened after that? Unfortunately, the United States became the only superpower. But in itself, it's not like good or bad. The question is how they behave. But with regards to the Venusians, we all know how they behave. They became, they took complete control over the state of Israel, and this actually even started during the 1970s. But yes, after the 1980s, it became like they became the masters here. And Israel cannot really govern itself, because it's a country that is ruled by a society of pedophile creeps, like cruel children with no responsibility, no accountability, and they are not mature enough to run like even like a medium business, like I mean a medium company like in the S&P 500. I mean I wouldn't let the Israelis, I mean the workers in Israel run even like a medium, like one medium business like in from the S&P 500. I mean certainly not a country, like I mean even the smallest one. They cannot do it. They are pedophile children, like I mean they are cruel, disgusting, infantile, stupid creeps. And the robots, I mean, I mean, or the aliens, whatever you want to call them, the Titans, they're the same. They're the same because they are Israelis. So they are the same. Practically, they are the same. They're almost, I mean, and I've spoken about it quite a bit already. I mean, after some time, I mean, they just became, you cannot even just, identify between them. Like, I mean, obviously, the females and males mostly, I mean, there are transgenders, but usually, I mean, it's a clear cut between females and males, so you can mostly identify between them. But I mean, in the most important sense, like they both irresponsible. They both do not understand sexual life at all. They both do not understand family life. They both cannot do not understand economy at all. Certainly in a grand scale. They both, I mean, have no morals at all and live like as forgotten children. Like I mean, like in Neverland, like without parents and like without morals, without without God at all. Both the males and the females. So it's like they're the same. They're the same. They cannot run the state, and they do not run the state. The people that actually run the place are the Americans. And unfortunately, the American interpretation of this kind of new mandate, new British mandate, but the American mandate is that great. Now the federal government can do whatever they want, because as I said it many times, I should say it again. The president of the United States, paradoxically, can have like much freedom of action in Israel to do things in Israel than in any of the 50 states of the United States, because I mean the federal government is very limited inside the United States because of they have the constitution and they have state rights and local rights and huge bureaucracy. They cannot do whatever they want in the United States. But they can do whatever they want in Israel, because they don't have a constitution in Israel, they don't have law in Israel, no NGO in Israel, no Congress in Israel, no state rights in Israel. It's like territory. A territory, I mean, the United States has all sorts of territories. The concept of territory is not a new one. But when it's a kind of like an established territory that is formally declared as such, like Puerto Rico, so yes, I mean, maybe they cannot, I don't know, they cannot vote for the president of the United States, but they have all sorts of rights. In Israel, they don't have any rights at all because, I mean, it's all non-formal. So this is like a territory of the United States, informal, but they can do whatever they want. And what do you think that they want? They want exploitation. They want to steal, to get money, to get drugs, to get robots, to get whatever they want. Because that's what they do, the Americans. I mean, how do they build their empire? I mean, how do they still do it? I mean, they take people from other places. Of course, I mean, if it was so good in other places, I mean, maybe people wouldn't want to live. So yes, I mean, of course, it's not it's both pulling and pushing. All sorts of places push people out, and the Americans pull them in. So, but that's what they do for so long. I mean, they take people. I mean, of course, they try to take more skillful, upper classes, the upper they can. From other places, I mean, and they lure them, throughout the academy or just, high-tech industries, or, so in general, they have ways to lure people, to good people and that's how, they maintain their superiority, together with, of course, let's not forget the military, which is huge, and as I said, it's much more dominant than even, because of the fact that even though it's actually weaker than they portray, actually, the military of the United States is not as strong as its image, but this is true for every military in the earth. I mean, all of them, I mean, are much weaker than they portray. And this is actually, I mean, one of the reasons why, I mean, or as I say, this can, I mean, you can, this is seen, now in our time with what's happening in Ukraine, that, I mean, you can ask yourself, I mean, how is it possible that the Russians, with all their military might, I mean, are obsessed in this kind of new Vietnam, I mean, without end, I mean, would expect with all their might, I mean, why does it take so long? So the answer is that they are actually much weaker than they portray, but this is true to all militaries in this world, including the American military. Because as you all know, people of the intelligence communities of the world, people that actually listen to me right now, it's much, much easier to Photoshop an aircraft carrier than to actually build one and operate one. It's not only the Israelis that know it. I mean, the Israelis are the masters of flying, of course. But I mean, everybody. I mean, know it. I mean, it's. I mean, it's so difficult to actually build something that will actually to maintain it and and to operate it and all the indirect and direct costs. I mean, and it's so kind of easy just to take like a pedophile asshole. I mean, and or a robot. I mean, prostitute and just tell him to paint it like in Photoshop or 3D Studio Max or Maya or whatever like a program that application is now like in fashion. So yeah, I mean there is a huge temptation to do that, and it was always like that. I mean even before Photoshop, of course. It was always like that. That I mean, yes, it's much easier to portray yourself as strong than to actually be strong. So this is true to every military in Earth. But I mean, of course, the Americans are by far the strongest, of course. So what happened actually is that now their rule is over Israel. They can do whatever they want in here, and of course they are. I mean, they know about my abuse. I mean, since long ago, they manage this kind of abuse. They want me to be just the way where I am. And it's not such a coincidence that I mean, when I actually issued the new passport, like last December, and I wanted to even just to travel to China to sell stuff. Like I mean, three days after I received my passport, I was arrested for ridiculous reasons, and I'm still under arrest until now, which is unbelievably draconian for nothing. Like I haven't done anything at all, and even if I would have done everything they say, it's unheard of that for a person without any criminal record at all to be arrested for so long for such a thing that I mean. To say that it's minor is overestimation. It's smaller than minor, but of course this is all because the Americans. They want me to be just the way where I am in order to exploit me, to abuse me, to use me as a farm animal, and they want me to be kept as poor as possible, so I will not have options because. Who, I mean, better than them knows that your options, I mean, I many times I quote Edmund Burke, wrote about like a famous book about the democracy and capitalism and the French Revolution. So he wrote, I mean, a person is as free as to an extent of how big his wallet is or how fat his wallet is. It's true. You have options. I mean, in direct proportion, the number of options that you have is in direct proportion to how much money you have in your wallet. This is true. And if you want a person to have no options, and that's what they want, they want to dictate every move in my life, so I will be their slave. It's most importantly, you need to keep him poor, and that's what they are doing. Of course, the Israelis are the executioners of all these kind of like charades, but this is managed from above. It's managed by the United States, and I understood it long ago because I understood how important it is, and I understood that nothing of importance can be managed by the Israelis. Nothing at all. Nothing. In light of that, the only rational action now from the part of the cherubs is to maintain order. Maybe justice cannot be obtained. Maybe I'm doomed to death. Maybe I will be killed by the Israeli lynching mob or by the Americans themselves. Maybe. I don't have a plot armor. No messenger, of the cherubs or, any kind of messenger gets a plot armor. Not all, are encouraged, to give their life, famously, Jesus, God told him that, willingly go to the cross, and even though it should say that God didn't tell him that, that he needs to be crucified in order to fulfill a mission or something like that. This is a kind of like a very nasty interpretation and cynical interpretation that unfortunately became kind of like postmodern take on the Evangelions, presumably that that it's kind of like that no, it's or presumably that it's kind of like that is prophesied in the Old Testament, which is also not true. It's prophesied many times that God will as I said, it's both in Isaiah and also famously in the book of Joel that God will get down to earth to be judged with the people, but it doesn't say that he will be crucified. They chose to crucify him, they chose to kill him. The world wouldn't I mean, to think that, I mean, because the Jews crucified Jesus, the world became a better place is absolutely stupid. No, it did not become a better place, it became a worse place. And I mean, in alternative kind of history where they didn't do it, where they wouldn't do that, it would have been a better place, much better place. It's and I just say, I mean, the idea that evil must like win in order for good to actually I mean, win in the long term is so cynical and stupid. No, I mean, at no time, like if evil can, I mean, it's not like, I mean, needed to win, because this is paradoxical. If it was like that, it's not. Then it's not evil. It's good. It's paradoxical. It doesn't make sense, and it's just not true. It's just not true. So I mean, humans have choices. Maybe they will kill me. Maybe I have no. Maybe I mean, I don't have a plot armor. But in order to maintain order, the most important thing is not to eliminate Israel, even though, I mean, as a state, it was already eliminated. I mean, this is one of the purges of, I mean, the closest like I have like four black, like, I mean, black and white, I mean, not black and white, but four dark, I mean, flags of Israel. It's of course, it's like everything else is the closet. I mean, with the chaos, like on the other side, which is like the destruction of Israel, which stated that, I mean, Israel not as a place, but as an entity. It's in the wording that, I mean, it will cease, they will lose their independence, and also that the people in the security, like the intelligence system and the security system will die. It's exactly what happened during the 1980s. They lost their independence and the people died. Of course, it still exists, but it exists as a territory of the United States because it's a trash can to put the garbage in and do all sorts of like cruelties. So, I mean, Israel already lost its independence. I mean, 40 years ago. Israel is not the issue. The issue is maintaining order, which means only one thing right now: that the most powerful like nation in this world and the main force in this world will get back to the 18th century. Because otherwise, no, I mean, there is no hope for, I mean, to create a more just society. Otherwise, you know that, I mean, personally, I will keep like in the prison, poor and humiliated until forever. And you also know that they will treat like the Venusians like, I mean, like their slaves forever and ever. There is no other way. You know very well that, I mean, even if Israel will be completely destroyed, then inevitably it will happen very soon. But I mean, what next will happen is that Americans will just find another trash can. Who knows, maybe in South America, maybe in Asia, I don't know where. They will find a place that will be their next trash can to put all the garbage in it, and also, I mean, to do all the crimes in it. So, I mean, this will not be much better world than now. Maybe it will even be a worse world. Because all the crimes will continue, and even more so. In order to stop the crimes, you need to try to create like a match between how strong a nation is and how, I mean, evil it is. I mean, of course, in reverse like proportion. That's why the main objective right now is to send these American scumbags back to the 18th century. So maybe there will be a chance for other societies, hopefully societies that remember how to move arms and legs and not only mouths and tongues, to become more prominent, to take place in the vacuum that, I mean, the annihilation of the United States will create. And maybe these kind of societies will actually move arms and legs to rescue me or any other, like, I mean, foreigner that requires rescue by movement of arms and legs, not mouths and tongues. So maybe they can do it after the United States is sent back to the 18th century.